whole thing we're trying to do is, make space for meaningful moments for people.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Radical Hospitality Podcast. I'm very excited. Today we are down in Waco, Texas, at the Magnolia headquarters here, Magnolia Realty headquarters.
Yes, that's right.
So I'm going to be hanging out with Dale, who is the Vice President of the Realty Division, and really has been kind of the backbone of leading the meat and potatoes of what happens on a fixer-upper. You got to find something good, right?
Yes.
So I am really excited to hear your story, Dale. Thank you so much for welcoming me and letting me come down and have a chat with you.
Oh, we're glad to have you here, Zeke. It's been fun to get to talk to you a little bit, and we're glad to have you here in Waco. It's a little warm, but it's July in Texas.
Yeah, it's pretty good for Texas right now. It's beautiful out. You guys have see the flowers blooming, so I'm glad to be down here in my home state. So it's good to talk to some good Southern Texans.
Great.
Well, Dale, why don't you, if you don't mind, just for our audience, give us a little of your background and how you came to get involved with Magnolia and your history here.
Great, I'd be happy to. I got to know Joanna Gaines, Joanna Stevens at the time, and her family when they first moved to Waco, and she was in high school. They joined the church that we were at. Got to know her and her family really well. Her dad became very well known in Waco for running a high reputation, high quality Firestone store. Okay. And people learned very quickly that he did business with integrity. And us having teenagers, we had a fleet of cars that always needed work. So we were going over there quite a bit. So we got to know their family way before fame and all that for her. At the time that they first started Fixer Upper, I was actually in my career as a catastrophic claims adjuster. So I traveled the company doing insurance claims. And Joanna knew me, she knew most of our family, and she reached out at one point and said, I think maybe we could use your help. And so as they were finishing up season 2, I came on board to write estimates for the fixer-upper projects. Okay. And as I came on board, they asked, hey, we also kind of make sure that just that new quality assurance. Let's make sure that what we're doing for our clients is the right quality. And so before long, I became the general manager of the design and construction process. So I was over both her design assistance team and the construction team, and kind of oversaw those projects. So yeah, it was a great experience. It was really neat and somewhat surreal to see the popularity of them grow so rapidly and the change and transformation in the city of Waco during that time. There are still times today that I pinch myself looking at what's happened in Waco since that time.
It's pretty amazing coming in through, and you can kind of feel the old and new. This is I was here probably 10 years ago, and you could just feel the difference in the downtown, the vibrancy, the people.
Absolutely.
What the effect of design and just, and not coming in and pulling out, but like embracing what's there. It has this real sense of authenticity.
Yes.
That's like, hey, this is of the place, but it's cool and it's new and it's vibrant.
What's really interesting is in 1953 we had a major tornado before my time.
Okay.
They had a major tornado come through downtown Waco and devastated it.
Oh wow.
And the growth of Waco just ceased at that time. It just stopped because it killed the commerce. And for several decades after that, city leaders kept trying to stimulate downtown and could never get it going. And finally in 2016, 15, 16, when we opened the market downtown, about the same time, Baylor had a Heisman Trophy winner in Robert Griffin III and built a new stadium right across the highway. And those two things together seem to really stimulate downtown. And so now, to your point, when you come down there, it feels so much different than it did for literally decades, where it just didn't have any life at all.
And there's a lot of these downtowns across America, across Texas. We're in the middle of building a boutique hotel in a little downtown. And, for us looking at these types of projects, it's so important, to come in and some projects seem to work and make that kind of pivot for downtown and some don't. What do you think are the things that you guys did with the silo or other projects that really helped, that work? What was to make the difference?
I think a lot of people who were watching Fixer Upper at some level related to Chip and Jo, or what they wanted their marriage, their family to be like. Mm-hmm. They had this belief that there were certain things about them that were true. Yeah. In most cases, those things were exactly right, but people, they don't know for sure. And people started coming here to try to, have some experience. And then, one of our vision statement is making space for meaningful moments in life and at home. Mm. And I think that has always been the spirit in which Chip and Jo have done things. And I think it comes through when you come visit the silos, or you go to the Magnolia Table restaurant, you get a Magnolia journal and look through it, or you deal with Magnolia Realty. The whole thing we're trying to do is, make space for meaningful moments for people. Mm-hmm. And when people see that you're making an extra effort to welcome them, to give them a wonderful experience, they respond to that. Yeah. Whether it's in retail, e-commerce, food operations, hospitality, or realty business. Yeah. People recognize the extra effort, the extra care, and they respond to that accordingly.
Isn't it interesting, like how it really is about people. And it's funny. I just got back from Europe, and all of the amazing stone buildings, pristine streets, and some of it just felt a little untouchable. One of the things that I love about Magnolia is just kind of the relatability of there's high quality design, but it's also kind of paired with a sense of, hey, there's some friendliness, and it's really, it feels like, places and people that you could sit down with and have a cup of coffee.
Yes.
And I think we miss that a lot in our design work and the places that we're creating, is that, hey, at the end of the day, we're not creating museums usually, we're creating homes, right? Yes. In terms of a culture here, like how have you guys embraced that and kind of created that feel, so when you're touching projects and working with clients, that it's not this pristine set off thing, but you're still creating a high design?
Such a great question. Well, we have a manifesto that has a series of things that we believe in as the Magnolia family. Mm-hmm. And the very first one is we believe in home, that it restores for today and readies us for tomorrow. Mm. And when we recruit new real estate agents, we're trying to find out, and the spirit of who they are, does that match up with that? And when we hire them, bring them to Waco for culture orientation, we spend time talking about that. That's one of the most relatable belief statements for the real estate side, because what's more appropriate than saying we believe in home? Mm-hmm. It restores us for today and readies us for tomorrow. And so from the moment they join us, we're talking about how important that is. And it's not about the transactions, it's about the transitions. Mm. People are going through transitions, whether it's a young professional buying her first home, mm-hmm. or whether it's a couple that got a promotion, they promised the kids a backyard pool and they're going to move to a new house, yeah. or whether it's someone trying to invest in properties for the first time, become a real estate investor. Our ability to hear their story and to understand what their needs are and what their wants are, and then to help them solve for that in a way that when they get in that home, they get in that situation, it's going to be just right for them. And so that's part of the creating the hospitality and the warmth of the whole thing, is getting to know people really well and trying to make sure that we're thinking about what does it look like after they unpack the boxes and life's happening. So I think Joanna has done that well in the way she designs things. I think that, like in our realty department, we really talk to the agents about being focused on what that client needs, mm-hmm. hearing their story, understanding it. If we can understand where they're coming from, where they want to be, what their wants and needs are, we can help them really find a good solution.
I love what you're saying about where people come from and where they want to be. When I personally think about Fixer Upper, that relates back to me and my wife. We were East Texas high school sweethearts, and this idea of transformation, of, hey, we could do things that, we were going to be tomorrow. And anytime we'd walk into a home, we'd look at not what it was, but we'd always be excited about what it could be, and thinking about our future, our kids, what these arts, one room might be an art studio, one might be another architecture office, and just got these great memories of transformation. Mm-hmm. When you think about fixer upper, what does that mean to you, and what do you think about with this idea that's kind of becomes central with the brand Magnolia?
Sure, a lot of thoughts come to mind, but I think the prominent ones are just taking properties that have lost their glory, mm-hmm. they've lost their shine, and saying there's something in that structure that's worth resuscitating, that's mm-hmm. worth renewing. So whether it's a castle, it's a hotel, it's a building that's gone from a newspaper office to our new headquarters downtown, or this building, which before was a pretty generic building, and we created a beautiful design here and executed it well. Restoring glory, I think, for lack of a better term, in buildings that had their time, but still have time mm-hmm. and have a future.
Yeah. So on the nuts and bolts, when you're helping people find something that could be transitional, could help them, mm-hmm. Create a better life, could help them financially to, fix up and be able to sell, right? All those things that you're doing when you're buying and getting engaged in realty. What are the things that you look for in real estate, or help your clients look for, that helps to grab something and know that's good bones that right. you can work with?
Well, I think first of all, I've got to back up just a bit. We talked about hearing their story, mm-hmm. and so when someone wants to invest, it's really important to understand, okay, what are your goals? What's your budget? Because one person might want to do a fixer-upper at a $600,000 level home. Another person might say, I want to be down the $200,000 range. Yep. And so you got to find out what's their budget, who is their target client or get a customer to sell to when they get done, if they're going to sell it, if they're going to live it themselves. You want to identify those things. And once you do that, then you start sourcing, okay, what's available in that price range? How much work do they want to put into this? Because fixer-upper means different things to different people. To a husband, it might mean some carpet and some paint, and we're good. The wife, it's probably like, we're going to move some walls, we're going to open some things up, yep. And it's usually a little bigger budget. Sometimes it's the opposite way, and let's be honest, yep. sometimes it's the husband that wants to do the extra things. But so understanding that, and then going and sourcing, okay, what are the target properties that we think will maybe speak to what they want to do? And then showing them those properties. And first, before you even go see them, you can just say, okay, let's just say, without looking at it, is it check off all the boxes in terms of what you're saying you want and what you're saying you need. And if so, let's go get in there or look at there and get a feel for it. On walkthroughs, you get a lot of clues about the shape the house is in. Whether it's got foundational issues or those kind of things. And sometimes, you need to have a structural engineer come in and look. If you think you can do some significant work, maybe you're going to take some walls out and you can put some beams in to get a feel for, is it doable and what's that going to cost?
Do you have a favorite project or story of a client that you've worked through on a fixer-upper project, or taken them through the process? So.
Oh, wow. Yeah, absolutely. And to be clear on this one, the family's church family was kind of involved in helping them find the house. The Cott family, we did a house where Chip and Joanna and Tim Tebow partnered.
Okay.
In season 5. Jody and Melissa Kopp have two boys that have had some really significant medical conditions that limited their ability. They can't stand or walk, had to be in wheelchairs all the time. And wherever they lived just wouldn't accommodate them. And they had a dream for having a wheelchair accessible home that the boys could really flourish in. So they found a house. We found a house that it was more of a shell of a house. Someone had built it and just not anything with it. And so it became a blank canvas.
Okay.
And so with the cops' help and Joanna's help, they began to plan for what could this be. And it turned into just an amazing product. And a wheelchair accessible house from outside to inside. Basically there's a racetrack around the kitchen where the boys can just go around in the wheelchairs. They can pull up to sinks and wash their own hands. They can go in the refrigerator and get a drink. There are pull-up bars in the bedroom. They can pull themselves up and do some art things on the wall. The bathroom is renovated to make it extremely accessible for them and help their parents. And when I talked to Melissa recently about the house and how it's been for them over the years, she said, well, first of all, we named the house Hope. When we first were moving in, we said, we're calling you Hope. And she said, it's not just been life-changing, it's been life-saving. And the medical reports on the boys and the progress they have made, and they have this condition they have is life-threatening. The medical reports and conditions have dramatically changed from day to night to day in the progress they've made. And I think it's in large part to the accessibility and their ability to do things for themselves and engage. And then there was a donation was made for a beautiful playground in the back where they can go around in their wheelchairs, they can play soccer and they can race. So it's transformed their lives. And this is a mother and father who 24/7 are investing in their kids because they need the constant care. And it's changed their lives from being almost unbearable to being amazing.
Wow. I think it is underrated, like how important it is to for accessibility. Whether it's someone that's has a disability or even
Yes.
aging. A lot of our homes, that needs to be thought through more fully. We're working with a client right now that he's a vet, and last year he got sepsis and went in from the flu, and within a couple of weeks it rapidly accelerated. In order to save his life, they ended up having to amputate both his arms and his legs. It went from a super healthy father to all of a sudden completely disabilitated.
Yeah.
And we've been working with their family to redesign. We designed his last home, but it was 3 stories. A beautiful home that he built that we designed, and they sold that quickly, put another house under contract, and we've been working through a redesign for that. And they're in this same place of just we can't function and can't move, and are so excited to get a new space out together where they can function and be able to move through. It's a process though. It takes a lot of time, yes. A lot of work. One of the things I love and hate about the Fixer Upper show, I work with a lot of clients, is I'll make it look so easy. You pull the screen away and it's new.
The magic of TV.
Magically. So I'd love to hear behind the story. Is it really that easy, or what is the process of taking projects through like this?
Well, we tell the story and typically in 47 minutes. With commercials it's an hour, right? And so it clearly condenses everything. But it's challenging because I mentioned earlier on that we were very committed to the quality part of this. It wasn't like we're going to put lipstick on this thing, film it, make it look good on TV, and then we're walking away and it falls apart. Yeah. And so when you're doing that, you can't cut corners. So the process would typically take 5 to 8 months for a typical house. It's just what it took. And we had it staffed between Joanna and her designers, between our Chip and our construction team. Everyone just worked really, really hard and was committed to it. And by the end of season 5, when Chip and Joanna decided to take a break, we all needed a break. The pace had been pretty relentless, but I think we delivered some really high quality products, and we're proud to give the homeowners their keys and say, welcome home.
And I understand a lot of transition now is to some of these larger projects. We mentioned the silo a little bit, and yes. I know you guys also finished up a beautiful hotel in downtown. What has your involvement been in some of these other projects on the commercial side? Are you engaged in that stuff as well?
Actually in 2 different roles. When we began looking at what was then the Karen Shrine building, which is now Hotel 1928.
Okay.
It was the headquarters for the Karen Shrine group. They built it up, I think it started in 1927, finished a couple of years later, and we're in that building up until about 3 decades ago. And when we first saw it, it was one of those again that was like, this building has historical significance. It was a cultural gathering point in Waco for a lot of big events, huge dinners and parties and dances and things like that. And I think the idea was, let's bring life back to this building. Let's bring it back alive. And the question was, how do we do that? And at that time, I was still on the design and construction side of the business.
Okay.
And so we began looking at, could this be a new corporate headquarters for us? Could this be a building that we develop condos, sell condo units, really nicely done?
Yeah.
Could it be a boutique hotel? Obviously, you know what the answer is, what it became. But so we were in that process of thinking through those things, kind of throwing some numbers against the wall. Here's what it might cost to do this.
Yeah.
Here's what it'll cost to do that. And eventually, after I came over to the realty side, they had already acquired it. From the realty side, then it was like, okay, we're moving forward with the hotel vision.
So what pushed you guys towards the hotel side of things versus condos or something else?
You know, I think it was the idea that Waco had space for more hospitality space. That you know, had so many people coming to visit Waco.
Yeah.
You know, we got to the place where we exceeded the Alamo in visitors per year.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, so remember the Alamo, remember Magnolia, I don't know. But
Yeah.
So I think the idea was there was room for that. And I think there was a desire for a really nice upscale boutique type hotel that people could opt for if they wanted to. And I think Joanna got excited about the idea of doing that. And what was really unique in talking with the design team about their experience in that is, you know, this is primarily a design group that has done residential properties. And then to take this hotel, the idea was, how do we make this as warm, hospitable as we can, where so many hotels feel institutional. Mm-hmm. And they begin to bring those warm elements in. So when you walk in, you go to the counter to check in, look to your right, there's a fireplace and a living room suite, and you can sit down there and feel like you're at home. You go a few steps past the coffee bar, just past there, and you go down the stairs in this beautiful library with a wall full of books that you can borrow while you're there and read, and it has a very calm, peaceful ambiance about it. And then when you go into the rooms, they're just designed with such care to make that guest have a wonderful experience. In fact, if I might, I'll tell you that before the demolition began, which was a very major part of this, because all the electrical, mechanical, plumbing all had to be replaced. They built out 2 rooms. Consider them like design labs.
Yeah.
And Joanna created specs for them. The construction team went in and built it, executed the design, so she could walk in and get a feel for, okay, does this have the feel I wanted it to have? And then she was able to make tweaks to it so that she could feel like, okay, if my guests come to this space, it's going to feel really special. And those rooms got taken apart piece by piece for the demolition and reused what they could. But that was a real good example of really trying to make sure the space felt right for our guests.
How many rooms is the hotel? And
33 keys.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's kind of relative. It's a boutique hotel in that
Yes.
sense. I personally think the Airbnb short-term rental has kind of changed the travelers' desires and needs, and it's almost a secret weapon for really good quality, you know, even residential designers to come into this space, because people want more experience. They want to feel like, you know, they're stepping into a space that maybe is a warm home versus an institutional building. The problem with short-term rentals is there's kind of a lack of quality and consistency.
Absolutely.
And boutique hotels really have the opportunity to kind of marry both, where you can create these unique experiences, unique spaces, manage it well so that consistency and quality to the guests. Couldn't think of a better company to do this than Magnolia. So I'm really looking forward. I got to poke my head into the lobby. I just flew into Waco, and I'm gonna go back afterwards to spend some time walking through there. But I could tell, like, immediately there's these, character things, photographs of the old building, details that, like, oh, this is going to be a special place for people to come and stay and visit.
I'm glad you got a hint of that, and yes, you will enjoy walking through and seeing more of those elements.
Yeah. Your favorite parts of that project that finished out?
Well, at the time that they were working on the renovation of the hotel, I was already over working on the real estate side and focused on supporting our agents that are up and down across Texas.
Okay.
So I wasn't real involved in that. I enjoyed just watching from afar, and I would get some insight into what they were doing. It was exciting just watching them be excited about it.
Yeah.
A very different kind of project for all of them.
Yeah, it's a neat space. I think that's going to do really well. Well, cool. You talked a little bit about building up a realty team. So I'm not sure the timing and transition from kind of HGTV and maybe the smaller group to larger group. What does that actually, the process of building a team look like, and how has that scaled over the years on the realty side?
Good question. I moved over in 2018. I've been here about 10 years.
Okay.
And so about 3.5, 4 years working on the design and construction side, and then moved to realty. And at the time, realty was one of several of the entities at Magnolia, and we didn't have Magnolia Table quite at that time. There were some other entities we didn't have yet, but it was really important that while we wanted to grow the real estate business, we couldn't do it at the expense of the reputation of the Magnolia brand that was starting to gain so much popularity. So it was really important when you have real estate agents that are independent contractors that you have really clear guidelines on how you use the brand, how you use the marks, how do you represent that brand and the ethos of that brand. And so my role was to come in and to really develop kind of those guardrails so that agents knew what the expectations were, but also gave them safety in knowing what they could do and what they shouldn't do. So we spent time doing that. We found regional leaders that we thought would help carry the banner really well, that could keep accountability in their own areas, whether it be Fort Worth or San Antonio or Austin or Belton Temple or here in Waco, and then had all the agents reporting to those leaders. And before we had more independent contractors just kind of spread out on their own. So we brought everything kind of under a structure, which helps things to work healthy when they have a structure to them. And now I think we just have over 160 agents that really know the brand well. They know what the expectation is in terms of how we serve our clients. As I told you before, how do we find out our client's story? How do we ask the right questions to help solve for what they want? And when agents are drawn to us because of what their perception of Magnolia is, it makes it a little bit easier, right? Mm-hmm. They've already bought in because they believe these things to be true, about that people trust us, people believe in us, and so we have to earn that every day. But we really challenge them to continue going out and proving every day that we want every client to have as great of a guest experience they would have if they went to the Magnolia Market at the Silos, or went to Hotel 1928, or went to the Magnolia Table Restaurant. This is a guest experience too. It's a little more protracted, right? It could be 3 months, it could be 3 years of a process, but we want that experience to be exceptional.
And it's, so obviously it's a great brand and people are going to be attracted to that. What are the things that, talking to the realtors that are attracted, what are the unique things that Magnolia offers that's supporting its realtors to be able to be successful and grow, versus, going to a Keller Williams or some other brand?
That's a great question, because we need to know what's unique about us, what our value proposition is. And one thing is that with the Magnolia brand, people put a lot of trust in that name. Mm-hmm. And so they might not necessarily trust just a realtor, but if it's Magnolia Realty, we're afforded a different level of trust maybe than others might get. And that's why we have to honor that trust by doing such a good job. But also, there are assets that we have. We have the Magnolia Journal that Joanna quarterly has a new edition come out, and we make that available as a marketing tool for the agents to give to their clients, or they go to maybe a civic event and they hand them out there. There's a lot of assets through our marketing side that we can use, that the agents can use to tap into. One of the things that's really unique about us is we have extremely high level of collaboration. And it started when we started putting structure to this group and having these regional leaders come together and saying, okay, what do we need to do to make this the best it can be? And we've always been very transparent with each other about where we are and what we need to be better at. And I think our agents have learned that as well. So we don't hold things too close to the vest. If agents are having success, we ask them to share that with others. So we have an event coming this next week. All of our agents will be coming to Waco for a 2-day event. And we're going to have 2 peer panels where we just have some of our best performers talking about certain areas of their business and sharing their secret. And that's really unique. That doesn't happen in a lot of places. There are a lot of the newer types of brokerages that don't have offices. They don't have brick and mortar locations. Agents are on their own. They get maybe a little cheaper rate to do business, but they don't have that camaraderie. They don't have that collaboration. And you know, when you're going through a hard time, and if you're in business at some point, you're going through a hard time.
You're in business. You're going through a hard time somewhere.
It's really nice to have people to go, hey, I got your back today. I'm going to help you through this. We're going to figure it out. And that's one of the things that makes us really unique is that level of collaboration that we have.
Do you find many realtors are interested in the investor side of the business and coming to Magnolia with the ideas of doing their own, fixing up projects?
Yes.
Is there many kind of crossovers between the design studios, construction, and the real estate?
We have quite a few realtors, really every area that we operate, from Dallas, Fort Worth down to San Antonio. We're in the I-35 corridor there, which in itself is a unique place because since COVID, 70% of the jobs created in the United States from COVID to 2024 were in Texas, and the majority of those were on the I-35 corridor.
Wow.
So we're just in a sweet spot. Dr. Perryman, local economist, says that we gain about 1,300 people a day population-wise in 2025 in that corridor.
What is driving all this growth?
You have a lot of corporations from other states that are coming here because Texas is considered to be a very business-friendly state to operate in. And so you have corporations from California moving their headquarters here, other places moving their headquarters here. We have some foreign companies that are moving headquarters here. Land in Texas is still relatively inexpensive compared to a lot of places, West Coast, East Coast. And so I think that's the reason why you have a lot of that kind of growth.
Yeah.
And then from COVID, since COVID, there's been a shift of people, I think, from the West Coast more to Tennessee and Utah and Texas, and I can't tell you all the reasons why, but people, for some reason, there was a bit of an exodus.
Yeah.
And we seem to gain from that.
Every time I come home and visit, it seems like there's more, construction
That's right.
and housing popping.
So as you have that kind of growth, investment-minded people show up, right? And so we do have realtors in all those areas that specialize in that area. And I was talking with Heather Jones recently. She's one of our specialists in the Austin area that works especially with investors wanting to do short-term rentals. Mm-hmm. And really just a great conversation about how you serve that client, how you identify what their needs are, what's their goal, who's their target client to come stay in their place. Is this going to be a short-term rental that they're just going to rent out as an investment? Or do they want to go, if it's on the coast, do they want to go 5 times a year and spend a week there for their family vacation? Because there are things, as you know, that come out of that, like you go there for your vacation and you start saying, oh, the paint's chipped over here, oh, we need a little repair over here, and all of a sudden your family vacation turns into a work week of fixing up your place, those things. How is it zoned? Is the area zoned for that? Are there HOA requirements? What are the fees? A lot of people think when they're getting into that, it's just buy a good deal, paint, carpet, open it up. Well, no, there are other things, right? There's insurance. What does it cost to put dishes? Oh, I got to put dishes. I forgot about that. What do linens cost? So people like Heather are really good at helping people gear up for that. Also walking through a space and saying, look, here's probably how you could use this space. Here's how many beds you could probably put in here. And then maybe what are the amenities that you want to have to make this special? Because you go back to that making special moments for people, right? And if you're going to have people renting your short-term rental, how do you make that special? If you're on the coast, maybe it's beach chairs and boogie boards and sand castle building stuff. It depends on where you are, but how do you make that stay unique? Because to your point, it's very inconsistent what you get when you stay at a short-term rental. So help the clients have the best success and giving their client the best success, and then they're going to have a good investment return.
How do you feel, or how's the general feeling here in Texas with short-term rentals? We're dealing with a lot of regulations and pushback in a lot of our ski towns. I have friends that have started to really look at Texas as a really great investment opportunity, but how in general is the market here for that? How's it being received? Is there places that work better than others?
It's a tough question to answer just in a general format. Let me kind of address it this way. I think you have to look at every market separately. So for example, in Waco, before Fixer Upper got popular, we had 5 permitted short-term rentals. Now there are 500. An argument could be made that maybe that's about all I can handle. We don't know for sure. But we know the past year, like in Dallas, tourist traffic has been down a little bit. I think San Antonio tourist traffic has been down a little bit. We use the Buc-ee's in Temple as a gauge. The Buc-ee's convenience store, that you've heard about it? They're down a little bit year over year. So that tells us people aren't traveling as much. Well, that means there's going to be less demand for hotel rooms and short-term rentals. So I think, again, it's why you need to have a real estate agent that really understands their market, because they're going to know what's going on there. The requirement to have more guidelines, I think, just comes with the territory, right? These things start multiplying, and then you realize, well, there are problems that come out of certain situations, and so you got to regulate more things to protect the neighbors, for one thing. You want to regard the neighbors and care for them, for their quality of life. So again, I think the best way to evaluate what is the pulse of the market is talk to an agent in that area that knows that market well. And which is one reason that we focus on having full-time agents only, because it's hard if you're part-time, whether as an architect or as a real estate agent, to be really good at your craft, to stay on top of things. But if you're full-time and engaged, you know what's happening, and you can look out for the best interest of your client.
Are you, have you guys got into investing in short-term rentals within Magnolia?
At Magnolia? Yeah. We have had a couple, and we, of course, the Hotel 1920 is our biggest venture, but we had one that was on Fixer Upper a while back called the Magnolia House. It's in McGregor, about 20 miles from here. And then we have one not too far, a stone's throw from here, Hillcrest Estates, that we also rent out.
So what's next for Magnolia? Where do you guys have in the books, and what are you guys looking for?
For Magnolia Realty specifically, that's a great question. Let me answer it this way. If you go to Magnolia Market at the silos, you're going to see a lot of green space. You're going to see a space where kids can play cornhole and soccer. There's another space where there's a wiffle ball field that's there to honor the former Waco ballpark where Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth played, and there are bronze statues acknowledging that there. There's a green space in the front entrance. And my point about all that is that we're so focused on giving people the best experience. It's not about turning the most dollars. And so for real estate, I think for us, we're in the process right now saying, what do we want to do? Do we want to fill out the rest of the state of Texas? Do we want to go beyond that? Do we want to not do all of that? We don't feel a need to go make $1 million more, but what kind of experience can we give people? Can we grow and give people the same kind of experience? And if so, then we'll do that. So we're thinking through that. We're processing that. I kind of went a long way around to get to there, but I think it really speaks to the spirit that we operate in, which is the bottom line. We want people to have a great experience and walk away saying that was really good. And if we grow too fast or we try to grow too aggressively and we lose that, we've lost something really valuable.
Well, if someone wanted to, connect with you or with a Magnolia Realtor, what would be the best way for them to get in touch?
The very easiest way, go to magnoliarealty.com.
Okay.
And from there, they can send us a message that they would like, or they can click on each office that we have and research further in those offices and their numbers to contact each office.
Perfect. Well, Dale, this has been a pleasure. It's been great to hang out and get to
great.
know you a little bit. So thank you so much for having us. Wish all of your ventures the very best. So appreciate you being on the show.
Well, the privilege is mine. Thank you, Zeke.
Great.
All right. Thanks so much.